record and let me share my
Hi.
screen. Oop, wrong one. Here.
Hey, you made a PowerPoint and everything in the last week.
Oh, we're official for you, buddy. All right,
I
can everybody see
appreciate
that okay?
Yeah.
Yep.
All right, perfect. So your social media plan sucks and 5 easy strategies to fix it. Lou Raven was the precipitous conversation for this. He wanted some help with social media. I gave him a little bit of homework and then I told him we would talk this week. I put it out on Facebook. I said, would anybody else like to sneak peek on my consultation with Lou on best practices and what he could do better on social media? And a bunch of people said yes. So I turned it into a class. Put it as a Facebook event, invited a bunch of people, and here we all are. So welcome, everyone. I am really glad that you made it. Let me figure out how to get to the next page. All right. So that is me, John Pugh. The reason I use my Facebook profile photo, which that happens to be my Facebook profile photo right at the moment. I changed that recently. It was quarantine hair, don't care was the caption. And the reason I have it there is because it definitely stands out. You're not going to miss that one scrolling through the feed or anything like that. So I'm going to switch it back to something else in a few days. But one of the quick things about profile pictures and your cover photo is those tend to get shown to people more often. So if you want to grab a little attention or you want to kind of break a pattern, you can play with your profile photo or your cover photo, and your cover photo can actually be used to engage people, to sell stuff. There's a bunch of cool tricks you can do with that. But that's why I left that photo in there. That is currently my Facebook profile photo. And that is my phone number. That's my cell phone. If anybody wants to take it down and text me, I'm happy to connect you to anything or answer questions or anything else you need. So there's my photo. Born in real estate. So not when I was really, really little, but around when I was 7, my dad got into real estate and I started passing out flyers on my rollerblades when I was 7. And the MLS used to be in big books and it came out on computers when I was in high school. So I started doing data analysis and CMAs. I worked with a ultra luxury partner for the first 7 years I was in the business. We sold $5 to $50 million estates. We sold Nicolas Cage's house for $35 million and a bunch of other fun things. So from there, I left that partnership, started out on my own, was recruited by Keller Williams and built up a $20 million team. Became a team leader, ran the Huntington Beach location for about 2 years, recruited a couple hundred agents there. And coached some of the top talent in Southern California, was a productivity coach at the Keller Williams Costa Mesa office and helped launch that office as well. One of my friends and one of the people that I mentor and had recruited to Huntington Beach just won 30 under 30 this year. Her name is Victoria Hill. I also founded a group called the Messy Middle Mastermind on Facebook. We host live events, retreats for real estate agents, and also have about 2,400 active members in that group. If you are not a member, please go on and request to join. Messy Middle is one of the best collections of awesome humans on the internet, and you will find a ton of valuable content there. And then I am also one of the 3 founders of the 4 Aces Nation at EXP. So we are growing a very large organization, basically like a brokerage within a brokerage at EXP. And if anybody has questions about how that works or what they get or why you might be interested, just let me know. Lou, our precipitous conversation man with the beard, is part of that group. So moving right along, that's me and why you might want to listen to what I have to say and a little bit about my background. So first thing you need to do with social media is you need to do a little bit of housekeeping. So give me a couple answers for anybody, or Lou, I'll start with you. What does authenticity mean to you?
I mean, just you have one face all the time. Here's my cat, popped in my lap. You have one face all the time. I mean, you are who you are to everybody, regardless of who the group is. You don't, kind of shape shift, and you stay true to who you are inside too.
All right, perfect. So he hit it out of the gate. I'm not going to dwell on this. Authenticity is probably the single most important quality, in my opinion, at this point. A lot of people would tell you emotional intelligence is the buzzword answer. Emotional intelligence is probably right up there. Those are probably the 2 things. I don't think you can have a high degree of emotional intelligence if you are not an authentic individual. And usually the thing that's holding you back from being authentic is you're just not comfortable with who you are. And so there's really two general things falling under you not being comfortable who you are. So one is you can wear a mask and you can be a different person everywhere. So at work, I'm this guy, and at home, I'm this guy, and with this group of friends, I'm this guy, and on the internet, I'm this guy, and so on and so forth. The problem with that is that it is incredibly taxing. You are going to spend a ridiculous amount of energy trying to, you know, be a shapeshifter and be all things to all people. If you are just yourself all the time, then it's really easy to know whether or not you are, you know, hitting a home run or not. Because if you're different at work and you're different at home, you don't know where the leaky boat is. You don't know which people don't really resonate with who you really are. So think to yourself, on a scale of 1 to 10, how proud of yourself are you in your character, integrity, or your ethics, right? Start to think about some of these things. Do you not like how you look? Like, I'll pick on Melinda, but like, Melinda, you're here, you made a huge life change, right? You don't have to unmute yourself unless you want to, but Melinda is one of our guests here, and she put fitness as a priority, and she made a gigantic life change, and she talks about it all the time on social media, and it's a huge part of her life. And I know personally, because she's a friend of mine, that it is like, Melinda, how has this all changed your life in making a change in your habits to become someone different? Do you feel like you can be more authentic now?
Yeah, because I'm not hiding behind the fat mask, if you want to be honest. Like, I was joking while you were talking about this mask, but this mask isn't me, and that wasn't me, and now people can see the real me, because unfortunately in America and Southern California, they couldn't see past that ugly mask. They couldn't see past it.
Yeah.
So yeah, it changes things. I can be me and not get judged the same way.
Yeah. So, you know, those were lifestyle choices. That was a physical thing, right? Like literally who she was as a person. But do you think that if you're not making good decisions with your diet and exercise and things like that, that you're going to be confident to go on video or put yourself out there as much? Like, there's all kinds of different ways that you need to maybe reevaluate yourself and make some changes in your life, because what you're unfortunately not going to be able to do is you're never going to be able to go through and you're never going to be able to fake who you are. You can try it for a little bit. You can try it for, you know, a week or a day or a month, but ultimately the real you is going to come out. And so if you're trying to hide behind somebody you're not, or play a game or fake it, it's not going to work. So I would reevaluate who you are. And if there's any areas where you could use improvement, start working on those. Because when you can put yourself out there on social media and say, look, hey, this is me. Like, my friend has purple hair and she's a badass real estate agent. Like, those two things are not mutually exclusive. She doesn't care. And so when you can just own whatever it is about you, and I'll get into more specifics, like we can talk about politics, we can talk about religion, we can not talk about politics and religion. But when you can lean in and just say, you know what, like, I'm totally okay with who I am, then you're going to have a whole different level of achievement that you didn't have before. The other thing is, I put down here, own your shit. You don't have to be perfect. It is totally okay to be imperfect on social media. In fact, it is much preferred. I'll get into it a little bit more. There's a difference between whining and bitching and being vulnerable. And being vulnerable or being real is always preferred. People always want to see that. Whining and bitching, nobody ever wants to see you whine and bitch. So those are two different things, but you don't have to be perfect. Now, I in my real life, if you guys met me, like, I curse. I say swear words from time to time. I took a whole class on comedy and swear words and all this stuff in college. And like, swear words are funny and there's all kinds of use for them. So I personally, like, I curse in real life. I curse on social media. Like, sometimes I'm going to say fuck. If that offends you, like, we're probably not going to be friends. I'm totally okay with that. I just have to live with the fact that you are too sensitive to be able to hear some word that somebody made up somewhere that sounds funny or says something. Sorry, I got to pull up the chat. Oh, hey, Angela, thanks. All right, perfect. Next. Before I move on, does anybody have any questions about anything there? Feel free to pop them in the chat or ask them, unmute yourself. I think I went through and unmuted a bunch of people because there was some background noise. Oh, and if anybody is listening and there is background noise or whatever, just go ahead and like mute yourself really quick if you're not muted, and then unmute yourself later if you want to talk. It's really simple. And that way we don't have all the background noise. Moving right along. If I can figure out the PowerPoint. All right, cool. So next step, and these are not your tips, these are just the basics, is pick a platform. So I like Facebook. I consider myself an old man. I don't like Instagram. I have it. I don't really use it. If Instagram is your jam, then just use Instagram. You can see this old graph over here from 2019, Facebook, still king of the castle, and then YouTube, Messenger, WhatsApp, Instagram, so on and so forth. I'm sure the numbers have changed a little bit on that. The truth is, it doesn't matter what platform you use, as long as you use one platform consistently. Facebook really is you as an individual online. This is supposed to be me as a person. YouTube is where you find videos or YouTube content creators, filmmakers, however you want to look at that. Facebook Messenger and WhatsApp, I look at those really as more of a communication tool. So I think Facebook Messenger plays right into Facebook, and I would look at those two things as really like one version of one social media platform. Same thing with like Instagram and Instagram DMs. Those aren't really broken up separately. Twitter, I said where celebs and people of Walmart meet. Hopefully you get that. But basically, if you want to reach a broader audience, Twitter is a great place to do it. You can more or less connect with anybody on there. LinkedIn is where your business is going to live online. So if you want to be very business oriented or do business to business, or there's some other additional strategies we can get into and some people that I can introduce you to that could really help you with LinkedIn. Snapchat, I said where your kids used to be, right? I think a lot of people still have Snapchat. I think Snapchat has some really interesting benefits and filters and cool things you can do with it. Gary Vee is really big on Snapchat if you've followed him. I think that a lot of other companies like Facebook and Instagram are innovating around Snapchat. So they take their better ideas and rip them off, which is the same thing that they're going to be doing with TikTok too. So you can get in on TikTok, you can get in on Snapchat, you could really build a profile or a following on Pinterest, right? Those bottom ones are some of the more underutilized ones. And you could have an opportunity to be more of a brand warrior or have a bigger presence, a bigger fish in a smaller pond, so to speak, if you attack one of those strategies. The key here is to just pick one. Don't try and do 6 social media platforms. You can take one piece of content and post it across multiple platforms. The problem with that is you have to manage it. It really, and I'm going to get into more of this as we go through the slides, but it's not just about posting one piece of content. That's why, like, has anybody here ever hired like a social media person that just they manage their social media for them? Anybody ever paid that money and just got that generic crap that was posted, or did like an automator or something like that? Yeah, we've all done that before, right? We all want the easy button. And so we're like, oh, I'll just do this and it'll automate 75% of my content and it'll be great. Well, the problem with that is it pushes out crap. It's generally generic. It's not incredibly engaging. And then at the end of the day, you're not, Kit said she's done it. Yeah, so you're not, there's really no value, right? Because it goes to all these different places and then you don't go check on it and you just expect that it's just gonna go through like the wash cycle, right? This is not your washing machine. You don't just get to go there and press the button and walk away and assume that by the time you're done, your clothes are gonna be clean. And then you take it out and you put it in the dryer and walk away again, right? That's not how social media works. Social media is more of you taking the clothes in the basket on your head, walking them down to the river, put them in the river, wash them, beat them on the rocks, like do the whole thing, right? You actually get the washboard out, get the thing, right? That is social media. Much more active, not inactive. Does anyone have any questions on all of those before we move on? Either in the chat or just unmute yourself. Nope. All right, we're all good. So those are the basics. Pick a platform and kind of just real quick, be yourself, right? So before you launch into social media too much, don't do it and have to redo it because you're full of shit. That's number one. And then number 2 is pick one place that you really like and you're comfortable and stay there. Don't hop around to a whole bunch of places unless you have way too much free time on your hands. And if you do, then maybe that's something different we need to talk about. All right, rule number 1, no raw meat. So this slide is dedicated to my friend Sheena. She is a phenomenal agent who is also a social media expert. That is a tri-tip, I believe. And that is a real photo that was posted because I posted something about somebody being a raw meat, don't be one of those raw meat people. And I'll tell you what that means in a minute. And somebody immediately took this picture and posted it in the comments. And so what no raw meat is Sheena has a thing where don't post raw meat on Facebook. That's disgusting. Like a bunch of people are offended by that image. Same thing with like open wounds. Like you ever have that friend that puts that picture of like that gaping wound on Facebook and you're like, why did you, like, I know your kid like cut their knee open, but I don't need to see that. The word moist, there's probably somebody on here right now that hates the word moist. So yeah, Melinda's raising her hand, right? So like moist raw meat is just about the most disgusting thing you can think of. And don't be that, like, don't put shit, unless you're doing it on purpose, which there is a place and time for doing things like this on purpose. Don't put things on Facebook or social media that people don't want to see. You're going to get them to turn you off before they ever even get bought in, right? So post the picture of like the amazing blueberry muffins that I baked the other day that you can practically smell through the screen, because everybody loves blueberry muffins and everybody can relate to that. A lot of people are not into raw meat. Next, religion and politics. So if I polled everybody that's on here right now, we would probably get a mixed bag of answers on religion and politics. Should you post about it? Should you not? And there is no, contrary to what some social media authors or experts might like to believe, there is no one book on how to do social media. There's no one way of best practices. And so as a result, you have to kind of play with this. They're constantly changing algorithms. They're constantly doing different things. So there is no right or wrong here. But in regards to religion and politics, those are two of the easiest ways to divide your audience. So if you lean into religion because you're really religious and you know, that is part of who you are and that is part of being authentic. So you're going to lean into that. Well, just know that you're going to alienate some people that might be atheist or might be offended by that or might be of a different religion, right? So there's all kinds of people that may not like your posts, right? As nice as they are, as wonderful as they are. I mean, I posted something that like was not religious, but it had some type of scriptural thing within it. And a bunch of people got really upset. And it's like, this is not a religious post. It just happens to have something in there that has some scripture, but I'm not trying to like push religion on any individual, right? So you either want to really own that and just lean into it and be like, you know what, if somebody's offended because they don't like my religion or my freedom of religion, then too bad, that's on them. I don't think there's anything wrong with that. Or if you just want to leave it off the table completely because you want to appeal to as many people as possible, well then leave it off the table and appeal, right? But you're going to have to rationalize that with yourself and be okay with it and be able to own it, because ultimately it's you at the end of the day. Same thing with politics. If you post something about Donald Trump or Gavin Newsom, the beaches closed in California, the coronavirus response, Ronald Reagan, like it literally doesn't matter. If you post about politics, you're going to get your people who love you and you're going to get people who hate you. And that's just a reflection of, unfortunately, where we are as a country right now. And it's, you know, it's unfortunate, but it's true. And so if you are the Donald Trump guy and it is like, make America great again all day long, and you can't get that out of your system, then go for it. You are going to get more passionate people who want to refer you and do business with you because you lean in to your MAGA hat than you are if you don't and you just try and be vanilla to everybody. So I wouldn't be of the belief that you shouldn't do religion and politics. I think you should do you. So if you're not political and you don't care about one side or the other, or you're more in the middle, you're more reasonable and you don't get pulled into these extremes, then be who you are and don't talk about politics. But if you are super right-wing or super left-wing, or you're really political, or you plan to run for council person or Congress or whatever it is, then you better make that a part of what you talk about. The next is going to be what I touched on earlier, which is negative versus vulnerable. So I'll just be really quick here. People don't like whiners and complainers. Don't be the person who airs all your dirty laundry and acts like a big whiny baby on social media. That doesn't mean you can't be touching or real. So if you're struggling, if you're going through something, like I had a really hard time in life and business, and I talked a lot about my struggles with anxiety. And the more I talked about what I was going on and dealt with through anxiety, and how I decided to stop drinking because of it and a lot of other things, like I cannot tell you the response that I got. I had people coming up to me, you know, at meetings and different places and being like, I can't tell you what it means to me, what you talked about, and da 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 da. So the more real you are, the better you're going to be. And you can be vulnerable. You don't have to be Superman. But at the same time, like, don't just whine about it. Like, oh my gosh, I couldn't get my Frappuccino today. Like, the line was out the door and I was too late to my appointment, and Starbucks ran out of my favorite, breakfast sandwich, or what. Like, if your first world problems are all you want to talk about on Facebook, that's probably not going to get you very far. Another two things that, and these are all kind of worst practices, these are not best practices. A couple other things I wanted to touch on are really random shares. So if you see something and it resonates with you and you just click that button and say share to your social media, like, very few people are going to see that. It's going to clog up your stuff. It's not meaningful. Like, don't just take a random post or video or article or something that you saw and just click share and just send it off. If you're going to repost some content like that, make sure you put your own description in at the top and make it relevant to your audience. You always want to be thinking about who's going to be reading your content and how it's valuable to them. And so if you're going to take something that's a public article or whatever and reshare it, just make sure that you do so with some care, with some quality, right? Don't be crappy. The other one, and actually make sure you read the whole article. Yes, Colby, that's a big fact, right? You get through the headline and you think it means one thing, and then you post it, and then somebody like an hour later calls you out on it, and they're like, what the heck? Lou, you unmuted yourself. Did you have something you want to say?
It doesn't hurt to Google the topic too. Read the article, Google the topic, and then decide.
All right, yeah, so Lou is putting like 3-step logic into this for people, and I love people who are like careful and smart, and they look through, like, they fact check their own stuff and they don't just repost crap. But the reality is most people aren't going to go through that trouble, Lou. So
my nemesis too. I don't post a lot because I'm just like overthinking it or whatever.
Yeah. Don't overthink it. Read the article though. Make sure it's something you actually agree with, and make sure it's relevant to what your social media strategy is. The other thing is mass tagging. So have you ever checked your Facebook, like, 3 hours later and somebody's tagged you in a post with like 99 other people? And it's like a picture, and I'm not talking crap on anybody, but like, it's a picture of like nature, or it's whatever, right? It's something, it's a class, it's a new product that they're selling, like whatever it is. So there's a way. So here's the problem. I haven't done it yet, because if you have to be on a desktop in order to go in and change your settings to allow people to not do that. But only that one specific action is the only setting I would change. Like, I would still let people tag you, but you can review them first. And so there's a way to just make it really easy where you can review the tag before it gets published. But basically, you don't want to fill Facebook with a bunch of junk, because it's going to screw up the algorithm from seeing the stuff that you actually want people to see. So if I went on social media right now on any platform, but Facebook, let's just say, and I posted like 12 different things, right? I shared like 3 articles, and I post, and a bunch of pictures, and then I changed my profile picture, and I changed my cover photo, and I did all this stuff, right? No one would really see any of that, because Facebook doesn't know what to do with it. Facebook is like, whoa, John's drunk. He's throwing all this stuff at me at once. Let's give a little bit over here and a little bit over here and a little, like, Facebook is basically just guessing what to give your people. So they're like, well, John's got a lot of friends and a lot of people like his stuff or whatever, but like, I don't really know who wants to see his new profile photo versus who wants to see this article from, Gawker versus whatever, right? So you need to be selective in what goes out through the machine, and mass tagging is one of the easiest ways to screw that up, and it's one of the easiest ways to piss your friends off. So don't just go in and take a bunch of your influential friends and tag them in shit. It's really not good practice. Anything else I miss? Did anybody got one that they hate to see on social media that they want to throw in here as well? Kid agrees with you, Melinda. All right, perfect. Moving on. Oh, and any questions? No? All right. Number 2, your vibe attracts your tribe. So this is probably the most important slide, although I think they're all important. You need to find a tribe. So you see the little picture? These are all the ways that you're connected to people, through strong ties and weak ties. So there's a really great book called Tribes by Seth Godin, and there's a really great TED Talk that he does that's on the topic of tribes as well. That's Seth Godin, Godin. And the idea is that now these days, the way we change the world is through movements. It used to be marketing. You used to be able to just spend your way into getting people to buy Clorox or whatever, Philip Morris, cigarettes, Marlboros, whatever. You could put a baby in the ad. Just go watch the TED Talk with Seth Godin. It's really, really smart. But basically, the best way to do anything these days is to get a group of people who either want to be led or who all believe in the same thing or who all share the same values. And you want to be the one to kind of bring them to wherever you want to take them. So he says in it, the Beatles didn't create teenagers, they just led them, right? So if you want to find a group, right? So in here I put like tribes, like work, church, community. We're used to those kind of tribes, right? We're used to our work people, we're used to our church people, we're used to our community people who want to help, do a coat drive or whatever it is you're giving back. The one I love is Bronies. So if you're not familiar with it, Bronies is a group of men, usually like young men, who are all really into My Little Pony. And that's a thing. So the cool thing about the internet is there is a space for everyone. So whatever you're into, there's other people that are into that, and the internet is what unites us all. And so if you go back to being authentic and you know who you are, then the internet is really just your vehicle for going and finding other people that are going to be cool, that you're going to associate with, that are going to have shared values. And yeah, my secret's out. I'm not a brony, but I do think it's hilarious, right? It's such a cool part of the internet that like that exists. And so no matter how unique you think you are, there is literally a whole tribe of people out there that like the same things that you do. No, Colby, not necessarily, but thank you. All right, so think about it. So you have strong ties. So anyone you have a good relationship with is considered a strong tie, and you can have about 150 of those in your head. So if I sat you down with a piece of paper and a pen and asked you to name everybody you know without any help of your phone or social media or anything, you could pull out about 150 names. And every single person in the world can do the exact same thing. And so this map is basically a map of your 150 and how they intersect with their 150 and so on and so forth. And if you do the math on that, it comes out to about 20,000 people. So you're somewhere between 20 and 30,000 people, 1 degree of separation, which is basically all the people you would ever need. And when you go and you just find general strangers, if you were to just go to Twitter or wherever and you just want to pick up, or if you just knocked on doors across America, or if you just got internet leads that were just inbound, the problem there is they make up all these different swaths of America. Some are Republican, some are Democrat, some are straight, some are gay, some are tall, some are short, right? It's just across the board. When you start to go through tribes and you start to go through common values and common interests and all of the other things that make up who you are as a person, you are going to find that you get along with everybody so much better. You have such a better relationship. It's not like fighting, running through quicksand or fighting uphill or anything like that. You just have smooth sailing. And so why would you fight the tide and try and go through everyone and appeal to everyone and be vanilla ice cream when you could go through specifically who you are? Hey, I'm like Tad just asked a question, and I will and I'll get to that in one sec. But I'm Tad. I'm a real estate agent who loves God, who loves to surf, and I'm from Huntington Beach, California, right? If you want to get really specific about who you are, then you're going to be able to go and find a whole tribe of people that are going to be exactly like you. Will you touch on differences between leveraging a Facebook business page versus personal? Yes. Almost everything that I'm talking about is for your personal page. If you are going to use a business page, the best way to do it is to share that content across your business page onto your personal page, or boost your content. So I boosted this class. Or do specific advertising. So we have classes that we've done. We have a Facebook social media strategist who does the business side of it. And we're happy to connect you with all of the different things that you'd want to do. But just know you cannot be effective on social media on a business page unless you're paying money. They do not give you free advertising for your business page. So even if you have a business page and you take that content and you share it onto your personal page, it's still not going to get seen by nearly as many people, because Facebook wants to make you spend money on your business page to get exposure and engagement and views. And so the best strategy is to just be yourself on your personal social media, and yourself does business, right? So, and we'll talk about your menu in 1 second. So I'll get into that. The next thing is, who do you want to be connected to? So I put up at the top 5,000 friends or not. What's your strategy? So there's two ways to look at this. Facebook does not personally penalize you for having 5,000 friends. If you have, technically the algorithm apparently says that if you have 5,000 friends, you're not going to get seen any less than you would if you have 2,000. The problem is if you're being extremely intentional about how you interact with your friends, if you have 5,000, that's a much bigger job. And you're probably not going to be able to do it all by yourself unless you solicit some assistance. And I'll talk more about what that looks like in terms of how to leverage your social media interaction a little bit later. But if you are just doing this yourself, I would personally argue that a core group of 200 or 300 or 400 or 1,000 people that you really have a vested interest in having a relationship with them, in knowing who they are, what they care about, common interests, common values, all that stuff, a small group of tightly connected people is going to be way more powerful than 5,000 random people. The other thing is you might have a ton of people in your Facebook friends that are real estate agents across the country, vendors that want to sell you something. How many of them are really people in your town? How many of them are really people that could actually do business with you, right? So if your target audience is not real estate agents and you don't do any real estate agent referrals and you're not in any real estate masterminds or anything like that, well then why do you have a bunch of real estate agents junking up your Facebook database? Really, if all you want to do is sell single family houses to, you know, whoever your target demographic is in your given town, wherever that is, then your whole Facebook should be filled with people who match that criteria. If your whole goal is to, you know, educate and empower and connect with as many real estate agents across the country, then it should be only real estate agents across the country. So just make it match whatever you're trying to do. That's a really, really important part of it. Any other questions on this before I change the page? Okay. Make your menu. So this is one of the most important things you can do and one of the best things that I think you can do before you do anything else on social media. So your menu is going to be incredibly important to your strategy. So if you live in California or somewhere that has In-N-Out, you're very familiar with the picture here. It is the In-N-Out menu. And if you've ever been to Cheesecake Factory, you probably know what I'm talking about when I say their menu is a book, right? In-N-Out has 3 things. Literally, they only make one thing, really, which is a hamburger. They still don't offer bacon. You can't get bacon on an In-N-Out hamburger, right? There's all these things, like, it's just this mind-boggling thing that, like, that's their menu. Like, but guess what? Every single time you go to In-N-Out, you're satisfied. Why? So it's this thing called the paradox of choice. And the paradox of choice says the more choices you have, the less satisfied you are at the end of the day. So every single time you go to Cheesecake Factory, no matter what you order, you always wish you got the tater tots or the mashed potatoes or, you know, the chicken sandwich or the vodka pasta, or gosh, couldn't we list like 1,000 things that you might have wanted at Cheesecake Factory? But every single time you leave In-N-Out, you're like, damn, that double-double was good, right? So you need to create a menu that is like In-N-Out. You need to be a consistent brand. So what are you all about? We talked about this before. Are you about your family? Are you about religion? Are you about motivation? Are you a business expert? Do you have something that you want to share to educate and, you know, help your consumer? Remember, everything you put out on social media should be for the benefit of someone else. Many times you put a post out on social media and it's self-serving. You're like, I want something for me, so I'm posting on social media to get something out of it. Your strategy should be the complete opposite. Everything you put on social media should be about giving someone else what they need. So if I post something funny on social media, it's so that I can make other people happy and laugh and smile, right? If I post something about my family on social media, it's so that they can connect and see pictures of my family and say, oh my gosh, how cute is that his daughter just took his first steps, right? That helps them reinforce their brand of me because they understand what I'm all about. But I'm not going to post something totally random that has no relation or no value to them. And then what you need to do is look at this menu, look at whatever it is you're all about, and look at that like a TV channel. So your social media is your place to have your TV channel put out to the world, right? Okay, so what is on the channel? And it can literally be cooking. It can be sports, it can be golf, it can be HGTV. Like, isn't it weird that there is a weather channel still? Like, there's a weather channel, right? That's a thing on the television. There's still a weather channel. So you can literally make this whatever you want, because like I said with bronies, there's always an audience. There's always going to be people that like whatever it is you're all about. You just have to figure out what that is. And then the key here is to rotate them. So someone who isn't, right? Yeah. So someone who isn't a real estate agent, or buying a house or selling a house, right? Somebody who they bought their house a year ago and they're never ever moving again. They will tolerate seeing my posts about real estate because they get value out of all the other posts. So if you want to be able to continue to essentially market or put your content that is not relevant to any given one of those people out, if you want them to give you their permission or their interest to continue to put different things out there that they're like, oh, that one wasn't for me, right? Because not every person is going to like every post. But the way that they stick with you is they have a couple of these other things that they're like, nope, you know what? He posted that last week and he posts those things this week, and there's all these other things that I like. So if I happen to have an advertisement every 5th post, I'll take it. It's not the end of the world. You know, we all have that one friend who sells like Arbonne or like some multi-level thing that they're never going to buy, right? Because they just don't want it. They're like, I'm never going to buy Monat shampoo, or I don't know how to say it, even Rodden and Fields, right? I'm never going to buy that. But like, I don't care how many times that person posts it. I'm never going to unfollow them because they post another Rodden and Fields thing. Why should I hate on their business? Why should they hate on mine? Like, not a big deal, right? Okay, that's your menu. We had questions. Nearly 5,000 friends. Do you recommend keeping local realtors on your friends list when needing to do a friends audit? So there's actually a tool you can use to figure out who is engaging with your posts and who is not. So rather than distributing it between local versus non-local or things like that, I would look towards engagement. So you can whitelist people you want to keep. Like maybe your mom is on your friends list, but she never comments on anything. And so you can be like, well, I don't want to delete mom, so we'll whitelist her. And then you can have all of the people that engage with you are on the, the keeper pile. They have engagement, and you can see exactly how much they're engaging and all that stuff. And then you've got the chunky middle part, which is like the 3,000 friends that have never liked, commented, or engaged with you in any way, shape, or form. And so you can just take a batch of them at random and delete them and add 200 more friends and see if they engage. Or you can be more purposeful about it, and you can go and connect and like and comment with every single person that's on that list of 3,000 people that have never engaged with your stuff. And the rule, or the way it should work, is if you engage with your stuff, they'll engage with your stuff, and so on and so forth. But what you might find is that by engaging with them a little bit, you realize that this is one of those people that should probably not be on that list, and take them off. And there's all kinds of reasons why you would want local realtors on your list. Maybe you have an opportunity to bring them into your company and make, revenue share or profit share off of them. Maybe they are an agent that can refer you business because they only specialize in a niche market. Maybe they're an agent that has buyers for your properties and you want to market to them or your product or whatever it is. So there's reasons to keep local agents. There's reasons to keep national agents. But if you're going to get rid of space because you have 5,000 friends, there's a tool that you can use. And if you PM me or text me, or if we connect after this, I'm happy to link you up with exactly what you need to do on that. And I'll talk more about that in a minute. What's the tool, John? I'm not going to tell you right now, Melinda. You're the tool. Just kidding. Love you. All right. Increase engagement. So this is probably the most important one. So is Jeff on this call? I think Jeff was maybe going to hop on. I know he had another appointment. All right, Jeff's on the call, but Jeff Talbot, if you don't know him, he is a social media expert for real estate agents. He's a friend of mine. He's a guy that I actually hired 5 years ago, way back in the day before almost anybody in the industry knew him. Now a ton of people know him. And he just posted this thing over here that said, have you ever adopted a pet from an animal shelter? Post a picture. So it has a question. It has a call to action. It's about animals. So it got 279 comments. And I bet you about 50% of those are Jeff's, because he went back in and he engaged with everybody who commented. But that's a really good question. That's going to get a lot of engagement because people care about animals. The only thing people care about more than animals is their children. Okay? So if you post about things that people care about, you're likely to get a lot more engagement. He told you to post a picture. Well, gosh, how cool is that, right? Now we get to see all the different dogs that were adopted, or probably people put in their fosters and all that other stuff, right? So it's a really engaging post. It's a really cool post. Now, what would happen if Jeff just posted that up there and then walked away for a week? Like, oh, here we go. Cool content, cool post, lots of comments, and I'm just going to let it sit there, right? A lot of times we check back on our social media and we see the likes and we see them rack up and we're like, oh, cool, we got to 100 likes, or, oh, cool, it got to 200 likes, or I got to 5 likes, whatever that is. But we never go back and engage with any of the comments. Oh, cool, this, that, da, 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 right? Everybody's posting and you don't have any engagement with any of those people. So when you post something that's engaging, it's really important that you go back in and engage with those people. And I will explain to you the strategy on how to improve this on the next slide. The next thing is be the drug dealer. So anytime somebody posts on social media, they want you to engage with them. So when they post on social media, they are raising their hand saying, pay attention to me, please pay attention to me. So if you go in and like their content, if you go in and comment on their posts, a lot of times what I'll do is I'll see somebody post something on social media and then I'll PM them about it. Okay? So they posted something publicly on social media like, oh my gosh, I'm having this really hard time, or, you know, I saw somebody just had like their barn blew over, like it had like a tornado and the barn was gone, but I didn't know, it looked like their house. So I just PM'd them and I was like, oh my gosh, are you okay? Like, is there anything I can do to help? Because when you PM somebody, you're taking it into an offline conversation where it's one-to-one. And so you can go a lot deeper by taking that conversation off. So if you already have an established relationship with someone, or somebody posts something that gives you permission to take that public conversation and make it private, go ahead and take that public conversation and make it private. I put in here the law of reciprocity. So same thing. If you are commenting and engaging and being a part of someone else's social media conversation, they are going to become a part of yours. That is a big part of how the Facebook algorithm works. A big part of it is wanting to show people, other people, that they know that we're connected. And the only way they know we're connected is if we private message each other, or we like and comment on each other's things, or they might even know a little bit about who you're text messaging or who you just had a phone call with. So I wouldn't say that the data ends on Facebook, but I definitely would say that those are the big triggers, right? So one way to boost your engagement is to go engage with a whole bunch of other people. And the more people that you participate in an online conversation with, the more people Facebook will put you in front of, and they'll have a better chance to reciprocate and engage in your content. Next is find your cadence. So whatever it is, be consistent. So if you're one of those people that wants to post one really great thing per week, post one great thing per week, but do it consistently. If you don't post at least once a week, post once a week. If you post once a week, post twice a week, right? You want to get it up to a minimum of probably 5 or 6 posts per week. And some people would say 5 or 6 posts per day. So this is another part where we split the groups and we split the internet. Some people say one good post a day is going to give you better brand, more solid content, and you're going to get all the engagement you ever needed off of those posts. Because something I posted Monday, I can go back to on Tuesday and Wednesday and Thursday and Friday. If I posted a really engaging question on Monday, that question could live all week long for the purposes of a conversation. And then we can post some other types of content throughout the week that might not get as many, right? So Monday might be a question, have you ever adopted a pet from an animal shelter? And that may get my engagement going and bring a lot of people into conversation. And then Tuesday and Wednesday's post might be something that's a lot more deep or really personal to me. And so even though people really like it, and maybe it gets a bunch of likes, it doesn't get hardly any comments. And so there's different types of posts that you're going to layer in throughout your strategy. And some of them, again, some are going to be funny and they're just going to elicit a quick little tap. And some of them are going to be deep or meaningful or engaging, and they're going to create a conversation. So there is no right answer to more posts or better posts. If you are going to post consistently. So if it's one a day, it's one a day. If it's 5 a day, it's 5 a day. But what I will challenge you here is that the hardest part of posting frequently or routinely is getting quality content. Because the hardest thing is, if I want to post 3 times a day, what the hell am I going to come up with that is actually of value for people to enjoy that is going to be 3 times a day? And so you have to put a lot of time and attention at first, and it becomes easier over time. But at first, you really need to put energy into training your brain on the types of content you're looking for. So go back, really simply, go back to your menu and then train yourself to find all of these things in your life and then store them somewhere. So when you take a great picture, when you find a great article, when you learn something, when you create a class, when you have a great question, when whatever it is that is going to be content, you just save that all in one spot. And then as you need it, you dole it out based on your menu. So if I just posted something amazing about EXP, right, and we just crushed our profit, or something incredible happened and I want to share that with the world because I'm excited about it for my company, but literally the next in an hour, there's another new thing that came up and I want to share that too. I don't just want to keep sharing the same item from the menu. Nobody wants to eat French fries all day. Well, like I do, but you get the point. Like you want to vary it up, right? You want to serve French toast at breakfast and you want to serve steak at dinner. And so you need to understand the rotation, and you need to build sort of a reservoir of content that you can then disseminate on the frequency that you need to disseminate it, in the rotation that it belongs in the menu that you've decided is going to be what you're all about. Does that all make sense? And Kit said, if it's just a reaction, do you respond to it or just let it go? It depends on what it is. So if every time you go back into an old post and you post on it, you're bumping it. So you're putting it back into action on Facebook. And so if I have to go back to a post 5 days ago, and there's no comment in there that isn't just like a cool or groovy or how sweet, right? Then I'll go in and I'll comment on a comment like that. Like, I know, isn't it cool? Or something like that, right? It's really lame. It's really shallow. But if that's the only thing I can go back in there and comment on to get somebody else to put a meaningful response in, then I'll do it if I need to. At the same time, you can just move on and put a new piece of content out there and get that. Next. All right, these are sort of Jedi practices. So Facebook groups. So did anybody watch the Super Bowl? I assume a lot of you, yeah. Facebook, did you guys catch the Facebook groups ad that they ran? They spent like $11 million for a 15-second spot or 30-second spot or whatever it was for Facebook groups. Facebook cares about groups. The reason Facebook cares about groups is because of bronies. They want you to find your tribe. They want to connect people that are related to one another in some way, shape, or form. And so if I post something in one of the groups that I run, whether I run it or not, if I post something in a group, it has a 5 times more likely chance to be seen by people that are in that group than if I just posted something regularly. So groups are extremely powerful, and groups are where you can take your tribe and your brand and your interests and you can multiply them. So if you're really passionate about adopted dogs in Huntington Beach, and you create an adopted dogs hangout group in Huntington Beach, you're going to pull people that are all going to be connected, and you're going to create a really strong tribe. One of the things that we're involved in is Generosity Global, and that's another way that you can connect this to a tribe, is to create a mission. And so we drill wells in Africa and do shower trucks for the homeless and do a bunch of things to give back to the underserved communities in the world. And so that type of mission-driven activity is going to get people who are really passionate about what you're doing and get them involved. So you can create Facebook groups around anything. It can be a community group. It can just be homeowners of, Seabridge, and you can create the homeowner group for that area. It can be interest driven. It can be a business mastermind. I mean, one of the best things you could do, honestly, is you could just go find 100 business owners in your area and create a business networking mastermind group on Facebook. And you lead that group and make sure you're the only real estate agent. And then promote really awesome content and help them grow their businesses. And if all you did was help 100 people in your local area grow their business and help share these strategies with them and all these other things, I can't even tell you how much business you would get out of that. It would be silly. So do not underestimate the power of Facebook groups. Next is making friends out of internet strangers. So I bet if I poll everybody on here, most of you would say that you do not routinely friend request people that are friends of your friends that you have never met before. That is my guess. That is usually where people draw the line. They're like, if I know you, I'll friend request you. If I don't know you, I won't friend request you. Friend requesting strangers is totally okay. The way you do that is you engage with them. So have you ever been reading a post that somebody posted and like the third comment down is exactly the same thing you were going to say? Like took the words right out of your mouth? So just engage with your friend's friends. And then if you find yourself engaging with the same person time and time again, there's a good chance that you guys would be friends too. So just go ahead and send that person a friend request. If they are your target type of person, if they seem like they share common interests, if they seem like they share common values, if they're somebody you want to add to your database, add them in. If they don't want to be friends with you, they won't accept it. Chances are they're going to accept the friend request. You guys are going to be internet stranger friends, whatever. And I have to tell you, like, I've got a lot of friends on Facebook that I've never met before. And I have a handful of them that have honestly become like some of my closest friends. One of the people that I met on Facebook, I literally had one phone conversation with. It was a friend of a friend. We had like one phone conversation. We became Facebook friends. We chatted a whole bunch. One weekend, randomly, we were talking. She shared some things about her life that were super, impactful and like really brave and crazy. Couldn't believe she shared them. It caused me to share some things. And she changed my whole life in that one moment. And that's like somebody I've never hung out with. Like that's not somebody I'm a close friend with. So you can't underestimate the impact and the power that you could have on somebody else's life, that just because they're an internet stranger doesn't mean they have to be a stranger. Like everybody was a stranger once. So, use Facebook as a way to build your tribe and to connect with people. Before you do that, don't be creepy. Never just DM people hi to be relevant. No, yeah, you have to build a relationship first. Do not just go in and like randomly PM a whole bunch of people or randomly friend request a bunch of people. Like you need to build a bit of a relationship first. So that's actually segue queen. So I have here up level everyone one at a time. So this is probably the most important strategy I can teach you. So take every single person in your friends list, and you could do it on a spreadsheet if you want to be really on purpose about it. If you want to be kind of more helter-skelter about it, just put it in the back of your head every time you're scrolling in Facebook and give them a grade. On a scale of 1 to 10, how would I grade this relationship? Are they a 1? We've never met before. I don't know them. I couldn't tell you if they have kids or not. Like, who knows? Or are they a 10? Like, best man in my wedding. Like, refers me all their business, loves me unconditionally. This person is amazing, right? The goal at any given time is to take everyone in your life and move them up one level. So if somebody is a 1, chat with them and make them a 2. If they're a 2, have a conversation and make them a 4. And basically what the workflow on that looks like is the first thing would be to be Facebook friends. That's kind of like the minimum standard. The second thing would be to comment on some of their posts and engage with them, like some posts, do some engagement. The third thing would be to take that conversation private, so private message or whatnot, and be relevant. Like, don't just like Facebook message somebody randomly, although I did hear a really great trick. So, and there's a great group, and I have people I can recommend you guys to if you want to do more on this and study this at a deeper level. But her goal is to add people on Facebook, add strangers on Facebook and become friends. And she's going through shared interests and posts, and there's all kinds of different ways to do it. But what she would do is go on their profile and like a bunch of their pictures and comment a couple times or whatever. And then she would PM them and she would say, oh, sorry, I don't want you to think I'm a creep. I just liked a whole bunch of your photos. I couldn't help it. You have such great pictures. I wanted to, there were a couple that I wanted to like and I couldn't help it. So she just owned it. So anytime you just lean into something and you own it like that, like, oops, sorry, I just liked like 6 of your photos at once. I didn't mean to be creepy. It tends to break a pattern and it will allow people to be like, oh, okay, this person's harmless, whatever. And then you need to engage with them and you need to make it interesting. Next, find the influencers. So there are all kinds of people that are connected to lots of people. This is true in real life and this is true on the internet. So teachers, hairstylists, real estate agents, there's all kinds of people that are connected. If you run a group, if you have a podcast, if you are an actual influencer, right? If you're famous, right? There's all kinds of different ways that people have a large network, and you'll know the people that are extremely active on social media, right? You see their stuff all the time. You see that they get 300, 400, 500 likes, comments, engagements. When you see people that are doing a really good job of social media, those are the people you want to pay attention to. Those are the people you want to engage with. Those are the people you want to become friends with, because that's going to make a big difference on the number of people that you can reach. And if that person was to tag you in something, or to include you in a podcast, or to give you a referral, or to whatever they're going to do, they have the ability to put a much bigger spotlight on you and what you're up to than you would have by yourself. And so it's just a really great strategy in life, is to go through people who have larger networks and who have more influence. It's like going to like the HR manager of a big business in town and getting her information, right? And making sure that she's your best friend, because the HR manager controls a lot of lives, not just one life. So you can either very easily go in and have one friend and do it one at a time, which would be like fighting hand-to-hand combat, right? Or you can go in and you can fight with technology and tools, and you can go pick up a whole bunch of people at a time. Go live. So Facebook really wants to promote people who are going live and putting live video content on there. And that's for all social media platforms. You can go live on YouTube now. You can go live a lot of places. So go live. The cool thing about going live is it doesn't have to be perfect. There's a much lower bar. You want to get people's attention really fast. So when you go live, like, make sure you know what you're going to say and how you're going to say it. And the biggest argument, I think, for everyone about why they don't want to go live or why they don't want to do video is, I hate the way I look and I hate the way I sound. That is almost always the objection that I get for people who don't want to go live or put themselves on camera. Let me be honest with you. Too fucking bad. That is the way you look and that is the way you sound. So you just need to get over it. Like, the way you think you look and the way you think you sound is only in your head. And so the only way you're going to get over that is by doing it. And so start small, start easy, do it with a friend. Facebook Lives are always easier when you're doing them with a friend or with an audience, 100%. Angela put, I'm going live in 20 minutes, join me. Yeah, absolutely. There's a cool tool called StreamYard where you can create virtual broadcasts, and you can do a lot more tricks, like set up plans to go live in 20 minutes or plans to go live at 2 p.m. There's a lot of cool things you can do regarding live and making sure more people, get there. Lastly, virtual technological leverage. This stuff is a lot of stuff. So we've only scratched the surface. There is a phenomenal course on Facebook and building Facebook relationships. The guy that I talked about back here, Jeff Talbot, teaches it, the guy with the questions. I can connect you to Jeff directly. get you on a special call with him. If you would like to have some personal coaching with Jeff, let me know. He's amazing. He teaches a very deep dive on Facebook. He teaches some stuff on how to get comfortable on camera. He teaches some virtual real estate stuff for what's going on right now. So I highly recommend Jeff. I also have a friend, Justin Nelson, who is incredible. He does VAs. So if you have ever thought about hiring a VA to help you with this stuff, what could a VA do? A VA could organize your friends list, could create a database out of it, could get all their contact information, could actually follow up and engage with people. So what if all day for $450 a month, you had somebody that, sorry about that. So for $450 a month, what if you had somebody that would go through your social media at all times and engage with them, right? What if they were going through and liking and commenting on your behalf 5 days a week for $450 a month? And then anytime the conversation elevated, right? So it's really easy. You can go through and have your VA say, hey, how's it going? You know, the family and I are off to Hawaii this week, or, hey, I just took this new listing, thought you might want to know about it, or whatever it is, right? And they can message privately 20 people a day on your behalf. Maybe 10 of those people don't even respond. That's okay. Maybe 3 of them respond and they're like, oh, cool, thanks so much, have a great trip, or, oh, cool listing, I'll tell my friends. And then what if one of those 20 people responds and they're like, hey, you know what, we were just talking about listing our house. I'd love to talk to you more about that, right? So there are things that a VA can do to help you leverage your time to just touch. They're not going to have the in-depth, real, deep, emotional relationship that you're going to have with these people, but they can help you tickle them and touch them and bring them back to top of mind so that you can control a database of 5,000 people. The other really cool thing that Justin Nelson does is he has an amazing program on LinkedIn. So if you do want to do business to business, if you do want to build more business on LinkedIn, if you've never even thought about LinkedIn as a strategy and you want to make that your niche, Justin Nelson is amazing and has some really high quality products. So those are the 2 people that I really recommend. And I highly, highly recommend, if you want to make social media like super Jedi mode, not just like, I'm going to make a little bit of money off this, or if you want to make social media like your obsession and the only thing you do for business, definitely get a VA involved and definitely look at Jeff's strategy, because they're the 2 smartest people I've ever met. And that more or less wraps it up. I will open it up to questions. And also I'd like to get a couple ahas. What are some of the things that you guys learned today? And what are you going to implement? What are you going to take away from this? Lou, you want to start with you?
Yeah, for me, I guess I'm identifying who I am more as I've been thinking about it in the last week or 2. I think I'm more of that, like, post a solid post, not quantity, but just quality. I'm seeing that the projects that I get the posts I get in the most engagement are like renovation related projects and things like that. So I guess it kind of helped demystify that I don't need to do 10 posts a day. I can just have like a couple good ones a week and just engage.
Yep, engage in those, do a couple of them a week. The minimum I would say is like 3 a week. Like, if you do one post, like I looked through your stuff, if you do like 1 post a week, you're going to get lost. Like, you're not going to have enough, unless you are just really engaging on everyone else's feed. If you're just constantly like commenting and engaging in other people's stuff, and then you only post 1 or 2 really high quality things a week, like, okay. But really it needs to be at least 3 a week. And I would argue it probably needs to be 5 or 6 at a minimum. And there's no reason you couldn't take, you could take 5 or 6 high quality topics, and that's 1 post per day, 5 or 6 days a week. So your menu can be spread across a week, and it can be 5 or 6 things, and you can go from there. Melinda said leveling up is an aha. I love that. Jeff Talbot taught me that years ago, and that's probably one of the best strategies, is take people from a 1 to a 2 and a 2 to a 3, and like a 7 to an 8, like you can get them on the phone. Like, there's no reason you can't just press the call button on Facebook and get a hold of somebody. If you guys have been chatting a bunch, like, you can take it from private message to on the phone, like, no problem at all. Thanks. Driving home the point. You have to be authentic. Yes, absolutely. You can grab time with me, guys. So if you want to go on calendly.com/John Pugh/generosity-coaching, you can book a 30-minute slot with me. I am happy to go through your business directly. I am happy to explain more about what we do, about social media, about agent-to-agent referrals. I'm happy to do a deep dive on EXP and why we came over there. Anything you guys want to talk about, feel free to book 30 minutes of my time, and I am happy to give it to you as part of what I do to give back to the industry. So if anybody has additional questions, now is the time to fire them off. And then 714-749-8794. That is my cell phone. Yeah, Angela, you wanted to say something?
Hi. Yeah. So the aha that I did, you were talking about the Monat hair shampoo or whatever.
Yeah.
So when my daughter's friends' moms reached out to me, and I was like, sure, I'll buy your shampoo. And she's contacted 4 people for me. One already has an agent, and then the other one is her mother. And so that was an aha for me that, you know, she's reaching out to support her business. And so now she's doing it in turn for me. So that was something that was really positive. Sorry if my son's washing dishes right now. Sorry, it's not loud.
Go figure. If you support small businesses, small businesses will support you. Like, Angela, what did the shampoo cost?
I got maybe 4 or 5 items and it was $100.
Okay. So that's marketing right there. $100. So
Yeah.
she supported a friend. She let her know with her wallet, right? Like, you can love me all day long, but if you love me with your wallet, like, that means more to me, right? So if I put a birthday fundraiser up and say, like, I want you to support Generosity Global and I want you to donate to build wells in Africa, and you donate $30, like, that is a whole different, right? Like, that's a whole different level than if you just like, happy birthday with like a weird GIF, right?
Right.
Support with your wallet, then post about it all over so they get added press. Yeah, people too will post about it. Melinda knows one time I sent her a lovely gift, and she posted all about it and talked all about it and said, you know, from here to eternity, how appreciative she was of that. And that was just a heartfelt thank you for her connecting me with somebody. So when you do really nice things, when you support other people, when you're very thoughtful, I like to say, like, social media or just relationships in general, like, I built my business completely off of referral, and relationships in general are all about like kind of being the best boyfriend you could ever be, but like with everyone.
Right.
So like when Lou and his team joined our group at EXP, like, we sent them like a ridiculous breakfast spread with like custom pastries, and we got gluten-free options for the people that were gluten-free, and we did it from one of their customers who lives in their local town. So we supported a local small business that they care about. And then I sent a, you know, bottle of scotch to his team, or a bourbon to his team leader, because I knew his team leader loved bourbon, because I went on his page and I stalked him, and I made sure I knew what he liked to drink. I mean, when we do something like that, like, we're doing it at an extremely high level, because this is like Jedi level. We want to be extremely intentional about how we build relationships, but I can do all of that through online, right? Like, Lou, you and I, we haven't like spent a lot of time hugging it out.
I was going to say, like, the way I know
friends.
John is because I have a friend who's in Newport Beach who was looking for a house. So I went through, we were both at KW at the time, so I went through like the Bold Network or whatever. A bunch of people commented about you. You were the only person who picked up the phone and called me and said, you know, what's going on? Who's your buddy? Whatever. Then you invited me into Messy Metal, gotten a ton of value from like you and Sheena posting, and just kind of, I've only been in the industry like 2 years, so I've learned a lot very quickly. But then we formed a legitimate relationship to the point where our team had struggles with our local market center, and we were thinking about making the jump to be our own brokerage versus going somewhere else. And as we were kind of just poking around, I knew John went to EXP, so I just kind of hit him up, and then, you know, we started talking. And I mean, now he texts me and gives me shit all the time for the things I should be doing, which is great.
Now we're
but again, it's the friendship that's like only been online. You know, it's pretty cool.
It's pretty crazy how you can take, you know, only being business partners and turn that into legitimately having a real relationship. And, you know, we're random internet strangers, and now, you know, we're really good friends and we talk all the time. Yep. And that's real. Like that is 100% real version of exactly what I just talked about.
He also kicked ass in person, helping my friend buy the condo. So that really helped solidify things too.
Yeah. So, it would have sucked if I did all that stuff and I was terrible at my job, right?
No, I don't think we would have been talking if you were really bad, Jimmy. So. And
that's where it all comes down to too, right? Is like all the social media, all of the stuff can be great, But then if you don't execute and you're not phenomenal at your chosen craft, like everyone is in the business of lead generation, doctors and lawyers and, you know, face painters and balloon artists, like everyone has to lead generate. But if you're not excellent at what you do, once you get that lead in front of you, none of it will matter. You will not be referred business. You will not gain a following. You will not have repeat customers. It doesn't matter how nice the bourbon is that you send over. If you suck, you suck. So that's where we go back to the very beginning, which is if you need to improve yourself and you need to become a better person and you need to become better at your craft, do that first. Because otherwise you're just throwing energy at, you know, at a fire. Like, why would you throw more gasoline on a fire? Put the fire out first, then go fill up your car, right? Mm-hmm. Don't suck, says Melinda. All right, guys, any other questions anybody has before we wrap up? I really appreciate everybody joining us and being here. Sounds like a lot of people got some value out of this. I will email out and have available the recording. So if anybody would like a copy of the recording or would like to share the recording with anyone, just let me know. Feel free to friend request me on Facebook and I will accept you. I love to make new friends. Melinda said she appreciates me. I love that.
Added you, Lou, on Facebook.
What was that?
Hi.
All right, bye.
Facebook.
Thanks, guys. Hit me up. Let me know if there's anything else I can do to help. I'm happy to help you privately. And feel free to grab time on there.
This was great. Thanks, Sean.
Yep, you're welcome, bud. See you later.
See ya.